What's up, horror fans? It's Danny from the Lassercast, along with my co-host Anchorpete over there, and we're joined by a very special guest, Jordan Graham, the writer, director, producer, every part of the crew on IMDb for the film Seder, which you could watch on Shudder, Amazon Prime, and Tubi right now. Jordan, how are you? How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, good.
So Thanksgiving is coming up next week, and then the holiday is coming up after that. And based on the true story behind your film Seder, I imagine that holidays for your family must be a little bit different. Does Seder ever come up as part of your family holiday gatherings?
I mean, not really. Seder was just mentioned. I probably told this before, where he was just like, all I knew about Seder was like, to my grandmother, was just a guardian, her guardian. I didn't really know much about him until I started making the film. So no, and then like my grandmother's passed away now since 2019, so we haven't been able to talk, obviously, about Seder except through the Ouija board. But I'm just kidding. My mom actually will never, because of Seder, my mom won't allow a Ouija board in her house because of the experiences that they all went through with Seder and the Ouija board in 1968. Yeah.
How has your family responded to the actual movie itself?
They're just really, they know I've been working on this thing forever. My mom has been a champion of my work forever, so she just is excited that I'm like kind of succeeding now a little bit in this, and my aunt and my uncle. So it's mainly like the three people that had Seder in their lives was my aunt, my uncle, and my mom. My uncle, I mean, both of that, yeah, they're just proud of me, basically. That's really about it, I guess. Like, they're happy for it. I didn't tell my uncle and my aunt that I was going to make a film about Seder until it was already done, because I was kind of afraid of what they were going to say about it. But they were just happy that I was finally able to make something that has been getting a little bit of attention. And
yeah. That's how we open up the show. We just ask very personal questions, like right away. Make sure everyone feels nice and comfortable.
That's how I like it. So
I was going to say that I had heard about your film because of Danny. Danny talked about it pretty much like as soon as he had seen it. But besides that, when Shudder had their Halloween, the 61 Days of Halloween countdown phone line, I called them on the first day. And I said I wanted a movie that had like a rich mythology, where you could tell that the writer had just put a lot of effort into the mythology of the movie. And Sam Zimmerman, who's in charge of programming at Shudder, he recommended Seder, and he recommended anything for Jackson. And so I was kind of curious, like, because I know that the idea of Seder itself in your movie came from recording your grandmother.
Yeah.
And it was sort of unintentional. And I know that prior to that, you had another story.
Yeah.
Did you have a kind of a fleshed out mythology for the previous story?
Oh, I don't even remember. I mean, I shot this movie, like I'm getting memories now on my phone. 6 years ago, I shot this film. So when I was writing it, I mean, that was 2013. I couldn't even tell you what the original one. I remember it had something to do with like aliens at one point, which I think you can still kind of see with like the star going shooting across. But my brain has been moved. Like I've already written 2 other screenplays since then, so my brain has been totally. I don't remember my original script, but and then even with like that's kind of nice that Zahem was saying that like me really taking care of writing the mythology, if that's what he said. I mean, it was just all I was just trying to do was just have my grandmother's story as truthfully as possible through her, so I didn't really feel like I created a well, I guess I did create one, but I didn't write anything down as far as mythology. I was just trying to make it all make sense because we did a whole bunch of improvisational. I mean, that's all of her stuff. Besides the few scenes of where she's like walking down the hall near the end, like I had her do a few things, but most of it was just a lot of improv, and I had no idea how I was going to use any of it in the film. So most of the time I was just trying to have it make sense, I guess. Yeah.
So it honestly, it's an incredible like piece of work together, because I just find it so amazing that it's like you have this personal aspect and then this fictional narrative, and you just kind of wed them together.
Yeah, I am so happy that for many reasons. I mean, one, being able to spend time with my grandmother like that and be able to have a bond with her near the end of her life, because I never really had that with her. I've been around her my entire life, but we never actually really got to connect. But for the film, if I didn't have that, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. I would the film would not have, whatever I was trying to make before would not have resonated with audiences how it did now, and then I'd probably be back to where I started. But luckily, doing this with my grandmother has changed me I'm cutting myself off there. Has changed me as a filmmaker and how I want to go about things in the future. And it really just having that realism, because I didn't have, the actors in the film are my friends, so it's really hard to kind of get a realism out of them, which is probably why they don't speak very much. So having my grandmother actually say something that is really genuine, I think it helped push me to the next level and get attention from people I was never expecting to, and be able to actually write something now bigger and have people interested in it. It's kind of so, and that would never have happened if it wasn't for that one improvisational day. However many years ago.
I think I had mentioned to you when we spoke that the behind the scenes aspect of this film are in many ways more fascinating than the movie itself. And the movie is very good, but it's just like the stories, listening to you tell the story of how like these improvisational conversations with your grandmother led to a completely different movie. To me, as a collector, and you can see some of my like DVD Blu-ray collection behind me, this all screams like Blu-ray exclusive. Like, yeah.
And finally, like Yellow Veil is who is the sales agent on this. They have Blu-ray rights, so we're finally getting pre-orders for the Blu-ray will come out in January finally. So that's I'm looking forward to that coming out, because I have a really cool I spent a lot of time on a director's commentary. I didn't just like record for an hour and a half. I tried that once, and I was kind of joking around. It's like, this is the time to actually kind of like share my experiences. So I did like a really in-depth director's commentary that took me like 3 weeks to do. And it hasn't been released anywhere yet. So I'm really hoping that's going to be on the Blu-ray that's coming out. So.
And do you still have all of your grandmother's writings and everything?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. But yeah, because I want to one day, like, I'm trying to stay away from Seder that's been part of my life for so long. So I've been I want to get away from the forests and that kind of thing. But I do want to adapt my grandmother's journal, because she wrote a journal that I didn't find until I was almost done making the film, and she goes in through 3 months of being with Seder, and it was like 1,000-page journal, and she wrote it like a story because she wanted to publish it. And so I would love to adapt that one day, but that won't be like a thriller or a horror film or anything. That'll be pretty much a drama about like mental health, and because even the way she wrote it, like, because she's talking about using the Ouija board, but it was like a Ouija board that she like carved in. I think she carved it. She carved it into her table, and and instead of using like whatever you would use for a Ouija board, her tools were like shot glasses and glasses, and even the way she wrote it, you can tell her hands never left the glass, and it would go all over the house. And so I definitely want to, if I ever do make that, I'd want to have that be as very real as possible and not really supernatural, which I'm not ready to do yet in my career. So I still want things to be strange and a little fantastical. And
so you talk about being kind of done with Seder and the woods and stuff, but like, has there been like repercussions from Seder? Like, have people reached out to you and like said, "Oh, I know Seder," or like, has anyone?
Yeah, there was only one that I'm really remembering was, it was before the film actually came out. Some person was just in a different country. He I think it might have been like, I think he might have been from Brazil or something, and he wrote me saying like, "Oh, I was searching Seder. There was a Seder that came to me years ago and really deeply impacted my life." And then he found the background of my film, and he wrote like this really long email to me, and then I sent that to my family, and they printed it out, and they got a lot of chills. Like, yeah, I don't know if I really believe in that, the supernatural side of that, but they really do, and so that email really got to them.
To me, I find it very interesting because you were saying it might be like a mental health situation that led to these visions or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, like, mental health is an issue in my family, and what I found what made this movie special for me is you had the scenes with her, and then you had the scenes in the wilderness. Mm-hmm. And like the stuff in the wilderness just freaks me out in general because it's just so well done.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just that you really capture that feeling of being out there and just alone, and just how creepy as hell that is.
Yeah. Well, that was definitely planned. Like, you could tell kind of there that I was making two separate movies a little bit. Like, you could tell there's my grandmother's stuff, and then there's the stuff in the woods. And so I definitely had an idea of what I wanted that to look like throughout the very beginning. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I mean, I was getting a little long-winded, but the point I was trying to make is I think that you were saying before in another interview that you were influenced by Blair Witch. And to me, it's like when you watch the Blair Witch and you have the people being interviewed at the very beginning, and then they go into the woods, like the stuff in the beginning is jarring because you're like, okay, what are they getting at? And then the wilderness stuff is ambiguous and creepy, and you kind of just mixed it together for the whole movie. I think it's really well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, that was the way. Yeah, Blair Witch is still one that I've seen it so many times, and I can only want to watch it when it's like 2:00 in the morning, and not with anybody else, just by myself, and just allow myself to get in that creepy mood. And it's still just like, it creeps me out. I love the sound in that one, and that, and then there was the Blair Witch, which I only seen once, the newest one, and I thought, because like with SPECTRE, the other one that I did, which I guess if you want to talk about later, but all the sound design. So like in Blair Witch, the first one, the Blair Witch Project, like all the sound in that sounds like it's coming from the woods. It sounds like it's coming from the distance, like all the rocks crackling and the sticks breaking. Like, it actually sounds like it's far out there. It's not like in a studio. And that's what I wanted to accomplish, or try to, in Seder, is actually go out in the woods with certain sounds like that and record them really far out and actually make it sound like it's part of it. And then but then like with my film that I don't like, that I made before this, SPECTRE, all the sounds in that were like sound libraries that sound very much in a studio. And when I remember watching the newest Blair Witch, I recognize so many of those exact same sound effects. Like they took that library, and I was like, I know that sound. And it's like, it doesn't, they just, to me, it missed the mark with that newest one.
Blair Witch was a big inspiration for you. Seder itself is a very experimental film. Um, you said you have a couple screenplays in the works. So how is like your filmmaking going to go in the future? Are you going to veer in more into that kind of like experimental filmmaking? Like,
I mean,
like weird.
All right. Well, we could kind of, yeah. Well, it's going to be weird. It's not going to be as art house as Seder, but I think it's like as far as art house, as far as like it's hard to grasp the story. You have to kind of like work to figure out what it's about. I'm not making it like that. But like the one that we're going to be. So I finished the script. I mean, I have two scripts. One I wrote before Seder, and I wasn't expecting to meet the people and sign. Like I have a manager I wasn't expecting to be signed with, and so I kind of put that first one on the back burner, and I just finished. I wrote it all of COVID, and we just got it to a place we're ready to send out in January. And this one's I'm trying not to, I don't know if I'm allowed to be talking, but it's about a shipping container that just keeps on going. So it's kind of, I mean, that's all I'm going to say really about it. Sure. It is very, yeah, it's very strange. It's very bizarre. He was saying that if the script went out without me attached to it, it probably would not be able to get made. I was told to write down my influences. If you want to know my influences, you can get kind of an idea, I guess, of the filmmaker or where I want to be.
Sure.
So as far as like directors go, like Gaspar Noé, Lars von Trier, Stanley Kubrick is a big one. Jonathan Glazer, Robert Eggers, mainly his Atmosphere, Yorgos Lanthimos, Panos. I didn't write his last name down. I just wrote Panos, the one who did Mandy.
Yeah.
Andrei Tarkovsky, Paul Thomas Anderson, Nicholas Winding Refn, and David Lynch.
Those that's like a huge crop of what I would like call like what the fuck directors, like, because a lot of times you watch their movies and they're great movies and you're just left going, what the fuck?
Like, yeah, that's kind of like I want to get a little. I mean, when I was writing this, a really big inspiration was Killing of the Sacred Deer. So that's the type of like horror I kind of want to do more. And not so much like ghosts, and at this moment, not so much like like spirits or monsters. Really, I want things that are just kind of creepy and strange, I guess. And yeah, this next one is more like, guess you could say cosmic horror. I guess it's I mean, most of the film takes place in a shipping container. Kind of. I like it. Yeah.
If you go on IMDb, it's like it's almost comical. Like in crew, your name just appears next to every part of Seder: editor, cinematographer, like special effects, music. Like you very often you hear about filmmakers that are like very hands-on, who don't want to give parts of their movie to anybody. You seem like almost like where you're almost like happy to give some of those jobs away.
Oh, God, so much. Yeah. I mean, as long as I get what I'm trying to go for, which I'm sure I'll be able to meet a bunch of talented people that'll probably be able to. I always feel like I've really like low expectations. Like Seder looked so much better than that was in my head. So, and I'm sure I'll be able to find people that will just do so much better than what I'm able to accomplish. But I'm definitely directing it. Definitely wrote this one. I'm going to be editing it, and I would like to have a cinematographer on the next one. Yeah, I want to actually. I've never been in that world before, in the actual like professional world, I guess. And I'm ready. I mean, if it was before Seder, if you asked me like, oh, what name actors would you want, or I was like, oh man, I'm not ready for anything like that. But now, I feel like Seder gave me all the experience I really needed to kind of know what I kind of want now, and I'm ready to be working with people and get things done quicker. And yeah, so.
Well, you like made the cabin that's in Seder, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know how I did that. Like, my wife wanted me to get replace one of our curtains or blinds, and I got so frustrated putting those blinds up, and I was like, how did I build the whole cabin? I guess I just had some crazy passion drive in me then. I was just like, I'm making this movie, and I could never do that. I do remember, because I built the cabin 2014 15, something like that. I do remember when I was building the doors for that almost made me want to quit the movie, just building the doors. That it frustrated me because they were heavy, and trying to put them on, and they weren't lining up into the door frame, and the doors definitely almost made me lose my mind. And then right when I learned that I have funding for this film, because I built the cabin in my mom's backyard, which is like a few blocks away from the ocean, so it's just like a regular like suburban, kind of suburbanish neighborhood. And so her backyard is all dirt, but it's all like uneven. So I went out and leveled the dirt, and the cabin sat on a whole bunch of on pallets that I got around town. And so leveling out. There was probably, I think it sat on maybe like 20 pallets or something like that, and just leveling out the dirt just to put one pallet down took me so long. And I remember that was like one of the first things that I did, and I was like, this film is going to take me forever. And I had like a mini like panic attack, and then from that moment I was like, okay, I'm just going to take it one step at a time, and then eventually I'll get done and not think about all the things I'm going to have to do in the future. Man, that was it's bringing me back a little bit. I'm so glad I don't have to do that anymore. Yeah.
Like for me, like to build a whole cabin to make it just as part of a movie, that just seems like almost like I can't even comprehend that. And so,
that was it. So like, that was the other thing, is like, I've been making films. Well, now it's been 22 years. So since I was 13 years old. And by the time I got to Seder, it was 13 years, I think. And nothing was happening. And then I watched the Blue Ruin, the film Blue Ruin, Jeremy Saulnier. So listening to his story, he was the one that like propelled me, because he was in the situation of where I probably am now, where he wanted he was about to have kids, or he's about to have his first kid, and his film career was kind of, he made Murder Party, I think is what it was, and he didn't know, I think he didn't know where his film career was really going, so he just wanted to give his all to one project, which was Blue Ruin, and hopefully that'll launch his career, and if not, then he will do something else. And so that really inspired me, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to give my all to one project. I've been doing this for 13 years. And I hated SPECTRE so much that I was just like, I'm going to do something that I actually care about. And so there was definitely like a drive for me and I want to do it like in a very like the unique way of doing it all myself. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm going to build this cabin, and I couldn't do it now. And it, like, the cabin, like, I'm still feeling the effects of that in my chest. I got inflammation in my sternum from doing that, and I'm still feeling that today. So I couldn't do that anymore. I don't want to. I don't have that passion as far as building the cabin or doing everything myself again. I do have a crazy passion to want to meet other artists too, like, and collaborate. I really want to collaborate now with people.
It's inspiring, because like I think that the fact that you made this movie essentially like yourself and it's so personal, like that's just really inspiring to me. I feel like I got no excuse not to work on my own creative endeavors.
Yeah. I mean, but it did I would recommend it, but I wouldn't recommend it just because it mentally, it scarred me pretty good mentally. Like it got really rough there when I was in post-production mainly. Production was, I love production. I love shooting and all that. So I had a lot of fun with that one. But when I was in post-production, that hurt pretty good. And I'm still kind of like, I'm still having anxieties over it. And now that I'm 35 and things are like, I just want things to move. I feel like time is just flying by and don't have anything to show for myself. Even though I have Seder now, it's just, I have to, like, it's hard to accept that I have Seder now because that was such a long time alone in isolation working on that thing. And so like now, and like, yeah, it hasn't been seen by a whole lot of people. Right. But, since I did do it myself, it's a really good, like resume piece or a calling card or, so like, the manager, when he goes and he starts sending out the script, he's able to send out Seder with it. And just that is going to really help me get, the next project.
It's like nothing that I've ever seen, and that makes it a special movie, to say the least.
Thank you,
Jordan. Thank you so much for giving us almost an hour of your time. We really enjoyed Seder, and you can watch it on Shudder or Amazon Prime or Tubi, and hopefully we get to see a Blu-ray of it very soon with some kick-ass special features. And we can't wait for your next project. And we'd love to have you back.
Yes. Yeah. Text me or whatever. Like you. Yeah.